Melatonin is the most popular sleep supplement in America. Millions take it every single night. And a new study of over 130,000 people from the American Heart Association just linked it to a 90% increase in heart failure risk. But before you throw your bottle away, or before you dismiss this entirely, you need to understand what this study actually says, because both reactions are wrong. And there is one detail buried in the data that changes everything. Here is the situation millions of people are in right now. You have trouble sleeping, you go to the pharmacy, you pick up melatonin, and you take it every night. It is natural. It is over the counter. Your neighbor takes it. Your doctor never told you not to. So it must be safe. Then a research team at a medical university in New York analyzes data from over 130,000 adults with insomnia and finds that people who took melatonin for 12 months or longer had a 90% higher risk of developing heart failure. Not 9%. 90. Those same long-term users were hospitalized at 3.5 times the rate. And their all-cause mortality, meaning death from any cause, was nearly doubled. I need to be honest with you. When I first saw this study, my reaction was the same as yours probably is right now, because I have been that person. Years ago, when my sleep fell apart, melatonin was one of the first things I reached for. I kept a bottle on my nightstand for months, taking it every single night, convinced it was helping. It was not. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. And here is the deeper problem. When something you trusted turns out to be questionable, it is not just frustrating. It shakes your confidence in every other decision you have made about your health. That feeling is what keeps people stuck. So here is what we are going to do. I am going to walk you through exactly what this study found, what it does not prove, why the science is more complicated than any headline, and then I will give you a complete 7-step replacement protocol, so you are not left with nothing, because knowing what to stop is useless without knowing what to start. First, let me clear up the biggest misunderstanding. Melatonin is not a sleeping pill. It is a timing signal. Your pineal gland releases it when light fades, and its job is to tell your body what time it is. It does not knock you out. It shifts your internal clock. That distinction matters for everything that comes next. Your body naturally produces about 0.3 to 1 milligram of melatonin per night. That is all it needs. Most supplements on the shelf contain 5 to 10 milligrams. Some gummies go up to 20. That means you are flooding your system with 10 to 40 times the amount your body was designed to handle. In pharmacology, that is called a supraphysiological dose, and it has consequences. Here is why the heart connection is not as random as it sounds. Melatonin receptors, called MT1 and MT2, do not just live in your brain. They are in your blood vessels and in your heart muscle. When you take supraphysiological doses every night for months or years, you are chronically overstimulating receptors in your cardiovascular system. The science on what that does long-term is still emerging, but the signal from 130,000 people is hard to ignore. But here is where it gets genuinely confusing, and this is the detail I mentioned in the beginning. Because there is a paradox at the center of all this, a major meta-analysis published in 2000-2005 reviewed clinical trials and found that melatonin actually protects the heart. It reduces inflammation, acts as an antioxidant, and improves outcomes in patients with heart failure. In the lab, melatonin looks like a hero, but in the real world, across 130,000 people followed for 5 years, regular melatonin users had dramatically worse outcomes. Both of these are true at the same time. So what explains the gap? 3 possibilities. 1. Dose matters. Lab studies use precise pharmaceutical-grade melatonin at controlled doses. Real-world use is a free-for-all. 2. Duration matters. Short-term use may be protective, while chronic use causes receptor problems. And 3. This is the one researchers are debating most. Melatonin use might simply be a marker. People who take melatonin every night tend to have severe chronic insomnia, and severe chronic insomnia itself is a known risk factor for heart disease. The melatonin might be a signal, not the cause. And there is one more problem that makes all of this worse. A study published in a leading medical journal in 2003 tested melatonin gummy products and found that 88% were inaccurately labeled. The actual melatonin content ranged from 74% to 347% of what the label said. Some even contained serotonin precursors that were not listed. You might think you are taking 5 milligrams. You could be taking 17. You do not even know what dose you are getting. You understand the science now. But knowing this does not help you sleep tonight. So let me give you the exact 7-step protocol for anyone currently taking melatonin who wants to transition off safely without losing the sleep you have. Here is what most people get wrong after hearing a study like this. They either panic and flush their melatonin immediately, or they convince themselves it does not apply to them. Neither response helps. This study is observational. It cannot prove that melatonin caused heart failure. But the association is strong enough that if you have any cardiovascular risk factors, high blood pressure, family history of heart disease, you are over 50, this is worth a conversation with your doctor. Not an emergency. A conversation. And pay attention to this. Melatonin interacts with SSRIs, beta blockers, blood pressure medications, and anticoagulants. If you are over 50, there is a reasonable chance you are on at least one of those. Most people never think about these interactions because melatonin is sold next to the vitamins. What if I told you that stopping melatonin abruptly can actually make your sleep worse? It sounds counterintuitive, but after months of external melatonin, your body has downregulated its own production. Stopping overnight can trigger rebound insomnia, a few nights of terrible sleep that convinces you the supplement was the only thing working. Instead, taper. If you are taking 5 milligrams or more, drop to 3 milligrams for 1 week, then 1 milligram for 1 week, then half a milligram for 1 week. Then stop. Your body's natural melatonin production resumes within 1 to 2 weeks after you stop. There is no permanent suppression. Your system resets. This technique comes from chronobiology, the study of how light programs your internal clock, and it is free. Within the first hour of waking, get 30 minutes of bright light. Sunlight is best. If that is not possible, a 10,000 lux light therapy lamp works. This tells your brain exactly when morning is, which programs your melatonin release to happen at the right time that night. Then, 2 hours before bed, dim your lights. Not just your phone screen, your overhead lights. Warm tones only. This 2-step pattern, bright morning, dim evening, is what melatonin supplements were trying to replace. Your body already has the machinery. You just need to give it the right inputs. In a clinical trial, one supplement combination increased natural melatonin production and lowered cortisol in just 8 weeks, without any of the cardiovascular concerns we just talked about. Here is what it is. Magnesium glycinate at 400 milligrams before bed, plus glycine at 3 grams before bed. Both of these have randomized controlled trial evidence behind them. In a placebo-controlled trial with older adults, magnesium supplementation for 8 weeks significantly increased natural melatonin levels and dropped cortisol. Notice that it increased your own melatonin. It did not replace it. Glycine works differently. It lowers your core body temperature, which is one of the key triggers for sleep onset. Together, they address the same problems melatonin was trying to solve, with 0 cardiovascular red flags. This sounds weird, but it might be more important than any supplement. Same bedtime and same wake time every single day, including weekends. Your circadian system is not a light switch you can flip whenever you want. It is a rhythm that requires consistency to stabilize. Set a wake time you can maintain 7 days a week. Count back 7 to 8 hours for your bedtime. If you cannot fall asleep within 20 minutes, get up and return to bed only when you feel sleepy. This trains your brain to associate your bed with sleep, not with lying awake. After 2 weeks, your sleep efficiency, the percentage of time in bed actually spent sleeping, starts climbing toward the 85% target. Most people skip this one because it does not come in a bottle. But 30 minutes of aerobic exercise daily has been shown to improve sleep quality by measurable amounts across multiple trials. Walking counts. Swimming counts. The key is timing. Exercise raises your core temperature and cortisol temporarily. That is useful in the morning. It is destructive at 9 p.m. At least 3 hours before bed. Morning is ideal because it combines with your light exposure from step 3. Double benefit from one habit. I saved the most important step for last. Everything before this manages the symptoms. This one addresses the root cause. The most effective treatment for insomnia is not a molecule. It is a structured program that retrains your brain's relationship with sleep. And most people have never heard of it. CBTI stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for Insomnia. A randomized controlled trial with older adult veterans found that CBTI produced significant, lasting improvements in insomnia symptoms through a full 12-month follow-up. That is not a one-week benefit. That is a year of better sleep from a program you complete in 6 to 8 weeks. And you do not need a specialist to start. There are free apps, Insomnia Coach and CBTI Coach, both developed with clinical oversight. If you want more structure, ask your doctor for a referral to a sleep specialist. Most people see meaningful improvement within 4 weeks. So you have the protocol. But there are 3 misconceptions that will sabotage you if you do not address them now. First, natural does not mean safe. Your body makes about 0.5 milligram of melatonin. Supplements deliver 10 to 40 times that. The fact that it is sold without a prescription does not mean the dose is harmless. And here is the part that surprises everyone. Clinical research shows that 0.3 milligrams of melatonin works as well as 20 milligrams for shifting sleep onset. More is not better. More is just more side effects. Second, this study does not prove that melatonin causes heart failure. It shows an association, but dismissing it is just as reckless as panicking over it. This was 130,000 people tracked for 5 years with rigorous statistical matching. The signal is real. We just do not know if melatonin is the driver or the passenger. The smart move is not to wait for the answer. It is to transition to alternatives that have no cardiovascular question marks. And third, your body will make melatonin again. Some people worry that after months of supplements, their natural production is permanently damaged. It is not. Research consistently shows that endogenous melatonin production resumes within 1 to 2 weeks of stopping. Your system is not broken. It just needs the chance to reset. So here it is, the complete protocol. 7 steps to transition off melatonin safely and replace it with approaches that have clinical evidence and 0 cardiovascular risk. I put everything from this video, the taper schedule, the replacement stack dosing, the light protocol timing, and the CBTI resources into a free guide called the Adrian Mercer Sleep Protocol. It is a 7-day ebook you can follow at home, step by step. Link is in the description. Just drop your email and it is yours. And if you want to understand why your body wakes you up at 3 a.m. in the first place, especially if you are over 50, I made a video that breaks down the exact mechanism and the fix. I will link it in the description. Tell me in the comments, are you currently taking melatonin? And if so, how long have you been on it? I read every comment and I want to know where you are starting from.